Oh, my God. Oh, my God. This is why people hate government.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. In the halls of Congress, Senator Kennedy confronts Bureau of Prisons Director Peters about a troubling issue that's raising eyebrows across the nation, exposing the cracks in our criminal justice system. In a heated congressional hearing, Senator Kennedy confronted Bureau of Prisons Director Peters. The issue? The release of 30,000 criminals under the First Step Act. The First Step Act, celebrated as a monumental reform in 2018, aimed to give deserving inmates a second chance. But 6 years later, serious questions remain. Were the right people released? And crucially, how many have reoffended? Kennedy's grilling highlighted a disturbing lack of transparency. Peters admitted that she couldn't provide answers on reoffense rates or if victims were notified. This raises an urgent question. Is public safety being compromised? The promise of the First Step Act was clear, reform and redemption, but the reality, still murky at best.
Director Peters, you're the director of the Bureau of Prisons, is that right?
That's correct, sir.
You're in charge of implementing the First Step Act, Director?
That's correct.
How many criminals have you released under the First Step Act?
So First Step Act for the overall release since the initiation of the First Step Act is, I have that exact number in front of me.
You don't know off the top of your head?
Sorry, Senator. So 70% of those that were released, we have about 30,000 individuals that have been released since the passage of the First Step Act.
All right, so you've released 30,000 criminals under the First Step Act. Okay? And how many of them, before you released them, did you contact any of their victims to say we're about to let this guy out?
Senator, it's my understanding that that notification happens through the U.S. Attorney's Office, but I will check into that and get back to you.
You don't know?
Senator, I don't.
Have you followed up with the U.S. attorneys to say, do you have a system to say, hey, we're about to let this guy out? Would we want to be sure the victim's contacted?
As a former victim's advocate, I share that value, that victim notification should happen. I'll check on the process.
But you don't know if it's happening?
That's correct, Senator.
Wow. Okay, of the 30,000 criminals you let free, how many of them have come back, have committed a crime again, hurt somebody else?
So that number is one that we're still looking at as it relates to the recidivism rate for those that were released on the First Step Act.
You don't have any idea?
No, Senator.
You don't have anybody at the Bureau that can count?
I do not have that number in front of me today,
So let me
Senator.
get this straight. The First Step Act was passed in 2018. This is 2024. Am I right so far?
That's correct.
That's 6 years. And in 6 years, you've let 30,000 criminals go, right?
That's correct.
And you don't have the slightest idea how many of them committed another crime and came back.
I don't have that number in front of me today,
And you
sir.
run the Bureau of Prisons.
That's correct.
And how many employees do you have?
About 40,000 employees.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. General, I know you got a lot to do, but could you give us a hand here? Look, I believe in justice. I believe in treating everybody fairly. But there are people out there, I don't know why, if I make it to heaven, I'm going to ask. They're not mixed up. They're not confused. They're not sick. It's not that their mama or daddy didn't love them or not enough. They just hurt other people, and they take other people's stuff. And we have to separate them from society. And the director let 30,000 of these folks go and can't tell me today how many have come back. I just find it takes my breath away. With 40,000 people. How many of your 40,000 people are actually coming to work or are still working from home, Director?
The supermajority of our employees come to work every day because we're running 24/7
What percentage are coming to work every day?
The percentage is quite high. I don't have the exact
You
number.
don't know?
But the
Well, maybe there's your problem.
the supermajority of our individuals come
If they're
to
not
work
coming
at
to
our
work, they
institutions.
can't give us the answer. I've gone over. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. This is why people hate government.
The First Step Act, celebrated as a monumental reform in 2018, aimed to give deserving inmates a second chance. But 6 years later, serious questions remain. Were the right people released? And crucially, how many have reoffended? Kennedy's grilling highlighted a disturbing lack of transparency. Peters admitted that she couldn't provide answers on reoffense rates or if victims were notified. This raises an urgent question. Is public safety being compromised? The promise of the First Step Act was clear, reform and redemption, but the reality, still murky at best. What does this mean for our trust in the system? Thanks for tuning in. Thank you for watching. If you found this video informative, please like, share, and subscribe. Let us know in the comments what you think about this hearing and the issues raised. Stay informed, stay engaged, and we'll see you in the next video.